Alrighty everyone, welcome to the Planetarium training video. First step, the lights are already turned on since I got here. However, when you get in, it'll probably be very dark. So the first order of business is you'll want to turn on all of your lights. You have two slides and then just a switch. This one's labeled baseboard. That's going to be for all of these lights under the baseboards here. And then these two lights are gonna, this first one here is gonna dim the lights in the little room up front and in the camera room, or the computer room. And then this light switch here is going to dim everything in above the heads right here. So you'll want to make sure those are all off when you're doing a planetarium show. The baseboards are what's going to be providing most of the light. So all of those lights will be turned off when you give the show. Next, what we'll want to do is we'll want to head into that room over there and turn on all of the computers. So we'll walk over here, and all of the computers here, you have a stack of them. All of them will need to be turned on. This top one here is going to be for the computer that will run Worldwide Telescope, that you'll be able to use a computer and mouse or the Xbox for. So we just flip that power switch there. You don't press it, you just flip it once and then it'll go back, but it'll start whizzing, and we'll go down and do all of these. This one has a little door, click that button. And you'll notice that sometimes the lights will not go on. So for instance, this one here, HDD will be flashing, but power will not. You can tell it's on if this light's flashing, or any of the other ones are flashing. On the top, you'll have your Xbox controller and the battery. So you'll want to make sure you grab those, put the battery into the back of the Xbox controller. We'll make our way back over, and you'll see the computer here is turned on, and our next step will be turning on all the projectors. For that, we'll need the projector remote, which is going to look like this. And what we'll do is you're just going to press that green power button, and right in front of them, they'll make a beep noise, and then that light on the side will turn green. And we're going to go around, and we're going to do all of the projectors, and they're on just like that. Okay, so now once you've turned all of the computers and the projectors on, and you will have logged into this main computer, you will be given the password later. You'll log on to this computer and you'll be greeted with this front screen. And if all of the projectors and computers were turned on correctly, you will see up here, all of the projectors will be projecting a desktop screen like you see here. So our next step is to actually get Worldwide Telescope running on this computer and all of the projectors above. So you'll have a really nice note down here that will give you all of the steps, but we'll go through it together now. If you click down here, this little up arrow, you'll see the Worldwide Telescope logo here. You're going to right click on that and you'll see something called Control Panel. You're going to click on that and it'll bring up this program window here. And the only three buttons that you're going to have to worry about is Launch All, Close All, and Shut Down All over here in Machine Controls. The first step will be going and clicking Launch All. What that does is it'll turn and launch Worldwide Telescope on all of the projectors. To get Worldwide Telescope on this computer, you'll have to just go to the shortcut, double click to open that. And now you will see that the projectors are all calibrated together to give us one big image of our Worldwide Telescope that matches with the one on the computer screen. So you'll close these down. These messages will just give you what's going on with Worldwide Telescope. This is just showing you once you've turned on the Xbox controller, which will be in a different video, you'll just acknowledge that screen, and essentially you will be all ready to go, controlling the planetarium either through here or with your Xbox controller. Now that you know how to hopefully turn on the planetarium, next up we'll be learning how to control it using the Xbox controller. That being said, you do not have to use the Xbox controller if you feel more comfortable working with the mouse and keyboard, which was in a separate video. I'll link that in the description. But the Xbox controller is going to be what allows you to walk around the room, be a little bit more interactive with the group, and it just gives you a little bit more mobility. And in my opinion, it's a bit smoother moving the camera around in the program with the Xbox controller versus on a mouse and keyboard. All right, our first order of business will be using the joysticks here. So this joystick that my thumb is on is what's going to be used to move the camera left, right, up, and down. So this will be what you use to pan the camera around. It does take some getting used to get a hang of the speed. If you hold it down, it tends to rotate just a little bit faster the longer you hold it down. But you're just going to use this to look around the screen. It's also going to be translating up on the screen here. So I'm moving it up and I'm moving it down. The next one that you're going to be using not so often is going to be this other joystick here. This is what's going to rotate your view. So if you see an upside down Earth, even though there's no direction in space, you can just use this one to flip everything back around. This in conjunction with this joystick over here will allow you to do some pretty cool tricks with moving around planets and moons, which is fun to do and everyone really likes. I would caution against moving things too fast or kind of flying around. It can be very easy for people to get motion sick staring up at the platform over here and have a really jerky movement. So you want to make sure that you're doing it very smoothly. Next up is going to be how to zoom in and out. That button is going to be this trigger here. This one here is going to zoom you out. So right now we'd be leaving the solar system. And if you zoom out far enough, you end up seeing stars move. And if you go even farther, eventually you'll zoom out and see the Milky Way galaxy. And even farther out, you'll start seeing other galaxies. So again, that's going to be your left trigger is what's going to be the zoom out button. And then the zoom in is going to be your right trigger. So an example of that, we're just going to zoom in real quick, and you can zoom all the way back in. You will zoom in on the last object in the solar system that you have focused on. So this whole demonstration is being done in solar system view. That is where you're going to need the Xbox controller. The other views don't necessarily need it at all. In fact, I think the Xbox controller makes the view a little bit wonky, and it can mess up some camera settings. Here, we're just zooming in with that right trigger. And since we started our program in the solar system, we start focused in on the sun. But everything will be focused on the last object that you've panned to. So if you're doing a general planetarium tour and you zoom out past the galaxy, you will be focused on probably Pluto, since it'll be the last object in the solar system that you'll look at before you zoom out. And then when you zoom all the way back in, you'll stay focused on Pluto, for instance. The next button that's really nice and handy is the bumper. So that's going to be these two little nubs right above the triggers. The right bumper is the one that you're going to want to use to go forward through the list of planets. That list of planets is going to be down below here. So we are going to press the right bumper. And so we were on the sun, and now it's going to slowly auto travel to the next planet. It's going to zoom out a little bit. And so it zooms out to default view here. If we press it again, we're going to fly right past the sun over to Mercury. So cycling through the right bumper is going to move you forward through that list. So we're on Mercury, and then we're going to be at Venus, and it's going to fly over there. This saves you from having to walk back to the computer to click over to the next planet. It makes it a lot more seamless. And then that left bumper, the nub above the left trigger, is just going to go backwards through the list and go back over to Mercury. Again, these are going to be very helpful for smooth transitions through planets. We can't go to other galaxies, so it doesn't pertain to that. It's just going to be the solar system. And lastly, the last set of functions on the Xbox controller that you're going to want to be familiar with are the buttons themselves. So A, B, X, and Y, those colored ones, those are all going to do different functions. So the first one we'll look at is going to be the A button. When we're in 3D view, the A button is going to turn off and on asteroids. So if we press that once, we're going to turn the asteroid belt on, and if we zoom out a little bit more, it's hard to see on the computer screen, but the Kuiper belt objects are here. If we zoom in a little bit more, we can see the Trojan asteroids, and we just press A again to turn those off. The next one is going to be the B button. That's going to be what turns on and off the Milky Way. So when we zoom out, eventually you'll zoom out far enough to see the Milky Way galaxy. I would recommend against ever pressing the B button, especially if you're doing a general planetarium tour where you're going through all of the solar system and doing an overview of interstellar and extragalactic shows. You're going to want to keep those galaxies on, obviously, so I would just stay away from pressing the B button at all. It also does save those settings the next time you open Worldwide Telescope, so for the next show, they might do it and they might not know why. Hopefully they'll know why the Milky Way is not showing and they can just press the B button, but it's just easier to leave that untouched. The next one is going to be the X button. It's going to be that blue button. That is going to be what turns on and off orbits. So you can see this fuzzy circle here. That's actually the orbits of all of Jupiter's moons. Same for Saturn and all of the gas giants. It's going to show the orbits of their moons. So pressing X is going to turn first all of them off, and then you'll just turn on planet orbits, and if you press it a third time, it'll turn back on the moon orbits. Generally, I like to keep on orbits unless I'm starting a planetarium show, but orbits will allow you to see the motion of the planets when you turn up speed if you like to do that, but just cycling through X will turn on the different orbits. And lastly, the Y button is going to be what turns stars on and off. So if we look here, it might be a little difficult to see some stars in the background, but pressing Y is just going to turn those on and off. So here's on and here's off. They're nice to have just in the background, just so they can see some context that there's stuff going on outside of our solar system. So the only button you're not going to want to be pressing is, again, the B button. And that about wraps it up for using the Xbox controller. I really like it. It adds a lot of functionality. It allows you to kind of move through the solar system and your show seamlessly while also being able to walk around and interact with the crowd, ask questions if there's someone that's losing some focus during the show. It's nice to be able to walk over there and ask them a question to get them back and engaged. All right, and now hopefully you will have learned how to turn on the planetarium, how to move around in the planetarium using the Xbox controller, and now lastly, we're going to talk about how to turn off the planetarium. So once everyone has left the planetarium, you'll be by yourself or maybe with another presenter if you were tag teaming a couple shows. You're going to want to go over and exit out of the client on the main computer. So you're just going to go up to this X button and you're just going to click on that to close Worldwide Telescope on this browser. It might take a little second for it to close. It's a hefty program. And then what you're going to want to do next is you're going to click close all. So it's going to be the processes, worldwide telescope processes here, click close all. And what that's gonna do, you'll notice, is all of the projectors instantly closed all of their worldwide telescope applications on their computers. And then you're going to want to click shut down all. What that's going to do is shut down all of the computers that run the projectors. This does not shut down the computer that you're using currently to do all of this. So if we click that, and it'll ask you, are you sure you want to do this? And you'll click yes. You don't ever want to shut down the computers manually. You don't want to go and flip those switches again to turn them off. You need to do it through this control panel on this main computer. And then you'll get this message up here that all of those computers are shutting down. I like to wait before I turn off the projectors. Those are going to be the very end. I just want to make sure that all of the computers have shut down correctly. I don't want to leave them running. So now you're safe to go and close the control panel now that all of those are done. And this toolbar, if you just go to the bottom, it'll stay like that. It'll pop up. You're going to click the Windows icon over here, and you're just going to click this. Do not, if it does say update like it does right now, it might not by the time you get into the planetarium. I recommend not updating it unless you've been told otherwise. Sometimes an update could mess with the software, and it's just better to just always shut down. Don't ever update anything unless someone tells you to. So you're going to click shut down here. This will shut down this computer, which is that top one that we learned about at the beginning of this video. And now all that's left to do is you're going to go and you're going to take your controller, which again looks like this one, and it'll be labeled, and you go through, you're going to click it once to, you'll get this message on the opposite wall. Are you sure? Click it again. Click it. So you'll click it twice to turn it off for real, and you'll just go through, click, click, and turn off all of those projectors. And then eventually you'll stop hearing the fans whir, and you'll see a red light off the side. It will no longer be green. And then you'll want to take your Xbox controller that's now flashing because we've turned off the connection. You're going to take out that battery. There's a little button over here that it'll do it to take it out. And you're going to want to put this back where it came from, and the battery pack on the charger. So here we go. Xbox controller goes here. Battery pack is going to go right up here. And you'll see all of the computers have turned off without me having to flip any switches. You're going to pack up all of your stuff, make sure you haven't left anything behind, and you're going to turn off all of the lights when you leave. And that's your general overview on how to turn on the planetarium, control it using the Xbox controller, and shut down the planetarium show after. I hope this has been helpful, and everyone enjoy giving shows.